Krystyn Lambert was first hooked on magic at age 4. Not only does she remember the magic she watched, she was so inspired she created her own magic coin change effect and performed it for adults immediately afterwards. Yes, you heard correctly. Krystyn Lambert was 4 years old. Her initiative, skill, and originality has been the catalyst for a magical journey that is nothing short of remarkable. She's experienced on stage, on screen, and is equally comfortable and capable when performing close-up and personal on the streets with crowds. At first glance, Krystyn appears fearless. She's creative and clever. She's a true storyteller, and she's been a magic teen prodigy with her own teen TED Talk and serious exposure in entertainment. All this before she turned 20. Krystyn has represented magic beautifully as a young girl, a teenager, and an adult. However, those successes came at a cost, which she acknowledges and credits to where she is today. It's truly my great pleasure to introduce the bewitching, beguiling, magical Krystyn Lambert.
That is so flattering. Thank you so much. I love it.
I believe it.
So it was one of the nicest intros I've ever received.
But what you've done is phenomenal. Congratulations on the Genie cover. It's really good. Richard Kaufman is just such a cool guy.
He initially wanted to do a cover when I first joined Chris's stage show.
Okay.
And then, for various reasons that couldn't happen because of contract stuff and whatever. I was getting a lot of attention from my castle performances and my recent performances. He was like, "Oh wait, we should do this now. Like now is the time." And I also am a writer. I have a column in Genie. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
Which called Stages Studio, and it's all about how magic can truly be an art form if you play your cards right. So that has been a real joy in my life, has been writing that column and working on that and contributing that.
In fact, that's something I want to touch on because you are a writer. And when I watch your work, from your early work, you told stories. There's a clip of you from Magic Live doing coins and cards, and the story is just, it's within your age range, which is really cool. Your scripting is so unique to you, and that routine was so special because it was topical for the time, but you could tell that you were comfortable with it. You thought it out, and it was getting laughs from, and I must say that your audience was much older than you, but it was working.
Thank you. Yeah, the Magic Live routine is really one of the things that I'm still most proud of, to be that young and so in self as far as like what was fulfilling to me and what I found funny and the way my brain works, and that totally translated in real life. And that's an interesting dichotomy to the stage persona that I had at that time, which was this pop star girl doing magic, dancing around, and that was winning competitions, and that was getting me bookings, but I didn't identify with that character. She was not me. Who you saw Magic Live, that was me. And so I was always really frustrated when I would do well and gain popularity with this other routine and this other show, and it's like, it's just thanks, but no thanks, and I think it's really easy to get caught up as a performer as far as like what's going to get bookings and what's going to win attention and what's going to get me followers. You see all these kids on Instagram and they're just doing this direct magic that's really visual, but it's like, how is that fulfilling to you, and how is that building your character, not your brand? I'm not talking about your brand. I'm talking about your character and your persona and the way you present yourself as an individual artist. And so I think that it's so easy to get caught up in commercial aspects of art that it's really important to focus on your true art. Chris Rock has a great line where he says that when all he wanted was to be famous, he never got anywhere. But then when all he wanted was to be funny, then he became famous. And I think about that all the time. And I really think that the way that I have my show now is very much a reflection of me and where I'm at. And even if there's a little bit of a character that I'm playing and it's not entirely Krystyn Lambert, it is a Krystyn Lambert creation in this very loving and symbiotic way.
Right. I've done a little bit of research on you for this talk today, and I think it's really interesting to watch the evolution. I think for someone so young that you're still forming yourself, organically,
Yeah,
and then it's wonderful that you were young and had all of this success. But in my experience, a lot of young entertainers struggle very hard later on because it's so many challenging things that are happening all at once, and you have to be so grown up. At a young age.
Oh yeah, totally. And, I grew up as a child actor. I was a Disney kid and very much active in film and television. And so, you're really molded from a young age and like taught to be a certain way. And, that in turn made me a very good performer because I had a lot of experience. But when it came to like truly connecting to me and myself as an artist, I had more challenges. And, that made me really great when I started working with Criss Angel, and I, got so much learning experience from that. I would never trade the Cirque experience that I got for anything in the world, specifically because I got to work with this Juilliard acting coach who, gave me a way to connect to self. And she probably sensed that I was so insecure just being a young woman that I couldn't connect to self in a meaningful way at that time. So she gave me this goddess to embody, whose name is Hecate. And she's the maiden, the mother, and the crone. She's the young, playful, vivacious maiden. She's the grounded, wise mother, and then she's the full evolution of the crone as being, like transcendent, practically supernatural. And so by channeling this goddess within me, or like embodying my vision of this goddess, I was able to become a grounded performer, right, and give meaning to everything that I did. And that sideways, side-eyed glance means something in the script that I have in my head. And every look and motion, it all is, grounded in this character. And even though I wasn't that character in real life, I wasn't this like leather wearing, dominatrix kind of a person.
Edgy girl.
I was not that. I'm very, very much not that. But I was able to play that character because I had this connection to self.
But that's acting. You were acting. It's acting 101. And it's literally, I think that one of the most valuable tools that any magician can have is acting. Because if you're able to act, then because literally when we're performing magic, we're acting. It's not actually happening.
Oh, but I think that yes, I was able to act and embody this character that fit that show. But the thing is that, I got out of acting because I wanted to be a magician. And I don't want to just be an actress. I want something that is fulfilling to me as an artist. And so acting as this character was a great experience. I learned a lot. I enjoyed doing it, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't me, and it wasn't what I wanted to contribute to the world as an artist.
You were acting in a role that you were cast in. It wasn't your choice.
That is exactly it. I was acting a role that I was cast in. And, I really, it was an interesting time because, I was really people really tried to shoehorn me into this character. And, I think that the way these directors kind of related, they didn't know, they'd never seen a female in magic. They just knew, oh, the dancers are sexy. And they tried to even give me the dancer's makeup look with the nude lips. And I was like, I'm not a dancer here. I don't want nude lips. I want my red lips. And my manager had to talk to the company manager to persuade them to let me change my lip color That was how crazy the bureaucracy of Cirque du Soleil was in my experience.
Yeah, I've been within productions like that, so I can relate.
So they tried to make me this sexy girl, and I don't move that way. I'm not a sexy girl. So, you know, I started working out 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. I had this monster trainer, and I got like huge guns, and I had a 6-pack, and I was just like, if I am a monster, then they can't sexualize me.
You're a superhero now.
Right. And that, I mean, this is me in my retrospective armchair psychologist looking back at that situation. At the time, I didn't realize what I was doing. I was just like, I want to get built. I want muscles. I don't want to look like the dancers, you know? And that was really like my whole thing was, I don't want to look like the dancers. I don't want to get confused with the blonde dancers. You know, I want to be my own, you know, presence. And it's interesting as a woman because we don't know who to look to be like, oh, well, you got to be like so-and-so if you want to be a female in magic and not a dancer. Like, we don't have those people to look at. You know, my goal is to be a person to look at, for people who are getting into magic, whether they're a dancer or just a young girl, whatever. Because, you know, there's really, you know, unless you have someone like Connie Boyd who's helping you along, you're not going to be able to make that transition pretty, you know, flawlessly.
It's really difficult. And you know, I trained as a ballet dancer with the National Ballet of Canada, so you can't take the dance out of me. I have a theater background. When I started magic and I performed my first magic contracts, which were big contracts in Las Vegas and the Folies Bergère, and I was the opening act, so it was a 10-12 minute spot. And there were 50, 60 dancers in the show. I didn't even do a pirouette. I did straight on, full on magic, 101. It's Vegas, so your look is provocative. I can't say that, you know, I wasn't covered head to toe by any means, but even my costuming, you know, everything tried to be more of a fashion statement. That was where the direction we went. I wanted to be what was happening in Vogue right now. I wanted to be a bit edgy and avant-garde.
You know, I think that's a really interesting distinction, is like, how do you, you know, transform into a strong performer, and how do you move well, and how, you know, you have to be an actress, you have to be a dancer, but not really, as we discussed. You know, you have to have all of these things to incorporate into you as a strong performer and as a strong magician. Because you look at my show now, I don't dance, there are no musical numbers, nothing is silent, everything is talking, but you know, the way I move and the way I present is so grounded in self and grounded as a performer. And that's something that I would not have had I not been in Cirque and worked with that Juilliard acting coach. You know, so I am forever indebted to Criss Angel and Cirque, and, you know, that is not lost on me. I was 22 when I was in Cirque in Criss Angel's show. And, you know, that's a hard time. That's a time of a lot of, you know, it was so funny because all of my friends were graduating UCLA. They were getting their first apartments. They were getting their first jobs. And I left UCLA 7 weeks before graduation to move to Vegas. And, you know, I just like was all of a sudden in this whole other world, and I didn't really have anyone to help me through it. And I didn't have anyone to talk to about anything. And I didn't have anyone I could relate to. You know, I didn't identify with the dancers. I don't know. It's just like, it was such a weird time. And, is when my, bipolarity started to manifest itself. And so it was just a super challenging time. And, you know, when I left the show in 2016, because of an injury, I tore my Achilles in the upside down straitjacket escape. Because one of the ways I'd been doing this like crazy training was I was running at a 22% incline at 7 miles an hour, and my Achilles were so weak. And so there was a time in the straitjacket, you know, you're spinning, you escape, and then there's a 10-foot free fall drop. You're 80 feet up in the air in the theater, and then there's that drop.
Can I just say for the viewers, it's like a bungee drop, but it's almost dead. You don't get that rebound back up, so you don't have that ease.
Thank you. Yes, it's exactly that. There's the drop, bungee drop, but no bungee. And so my Achilles just went kaput. And so it was a really graceful way for me to bow out of everything and say, I love you all. I can't do it.
Remember to subscribe and comment below.